Today's case is a chilling tale of a young man known as Lawrence Warunge, whose actions shocked an entire community of a peaceful village in Kiambu County in Kenya. His story reads like something out of a thriller movie, but the horrors he unleashed were all too real and would have unimaginable consequences. So guys, buckle up as we dive deep into this crazy tale. Welcome back to the Crime Gist. My name is Damisa. Lawrence Warunge's story begins in a picturesque home in Kiambu, Kenya, where he grew up with his loving family. Lawrence was born in 1999 to Nicholas Njoroge and Anne Wanjiku. He was the oldest child in the family. He had a younger brother named Christian Jenga and two sisters and their cousin Maxwell, who was adopted into the family. Together, they made up the Warunge family. They lived in a big house in Karura village in Kiamba, which is in Kiambu County. Their dad, Nicholas, worked hard to build for them that big house and always made sure his family had everything they needed. He decided to move to the US to find better opportunities for his family, while his wife continued to work in the health system in Kiambu County, helping women in the community. In December of 2020, Nicholas Njoroge was back in Kenya from the United States to celebrate Christmas and New Year's with his loved ones. He had no idea of the horrors that would befall his family only 11 days after his arrival in Kenya. Just like many other parents in Kenya, Nicholas and Anne made sure their kids got the best education possible. Lawrence Warunge went to a private school in Kiambu and later joined the Great Pioneer School. While he was not really into sports, he loved reading novels and watching movies, which sparked his creativity. This creativity became important when he joined an NGO that helps with education in the slums, known as PACE International. Just like his parents, Lawrence was passionate about helping others. His dedication got him recognized by the NGO as a change maker. This recognition encouraged his parents to support his dream of becoming an IT professional. They didn't hesitate to enroll him to Mount Kenya University in Thika to study information technology, setting him on a path to achieve his goals. Despite feeling ready to excel in the IT field, Lawrence had something bothering him. Usually, he was a quiet guy and didn't know who to talk to about his struggles. Despite all the efforts his parents had put in for him, Lawrence couldn't shake the feeling that they favored his siblings over him. This feeling intensified when they adopted another son, that is Maxwell, who was their cousin, driving a deeper wedge between Lawrence and his parents. Fortunately, Lawrence found some solace when he joined Mount Kenya University in Thika and began living on his own. Being away from home gave him the space he needed to reflect on his life and the issues he had with his parents. Campus life brought him some joy, and he immersed himself in friendships, relationships, and activities. Like many students, Lawrence enjoyed spending his free time watching movies and TV series in his room. It was during one of these sessions, while watching a TV series named Killing Eve, that he had a profound realization. It ignited a dark inspiration within him. He related with the character Villanelle, a meticulous assassin who in the movie confronted her mother about feeling unloved and ended up killing her own mom. Inspired by Villanelle's resolve to address her own problems, Lawrence felt a surge of determination. But unlike Villanelle, who had resorted to killing her mom in the movie, Lawrence planned something much darker, something that would change everything. With a twisted plan forming in his mind, Lawrence confided in his girlfriend, Sarah Mudhoni, about the desire to break free from the constraints of his own life. He meticulously made a plan, telling Sarah that he wanted to do something that would let them live in peace for the rest of their lives. And so his carefully laid plans were set into motion. On January 2nd, 2021, Lawrence was determined to carry out his heinous plan. The details of his actions are too gruesome to comprehend. Armed with a kitchen knife and other weapons in his bag, he started his journey from Thika to his home in Kiambu County. Knowing that his father would be home after returning from the US, Lawrence decided that it was the perfect time to execute his plans. After leaving Thika, Lawrence made a stop at Nairobi CBD where he visited Uhuru Park. Later, at around 4 p.m., he boarded a passenger vehicle bound for Limuru. Upon reaching Limuru, he took another vehicle to his home in Kiambaa, Kiambu County. On reaching his home at around 6 p.m., he found their farmhand, James Kinyanjui, who greeted him with joy, not knowing that Warunge was planning something sinister. The farmhand, Kinyanjui, noticed that Warunge looked very nervous. When he asked him, Lawrence simply said that he had a lot of stress without expounding further. What followed was a scene of unimaginable brutality. Lawrence would minutes later catch Kinyanjui in the farm unawares and hit him at the back of the head several times with a metal bar before he cut his throat using the knife he had carried in his bag. As he would later reveal, he decided to slit Kinyanjui's throat after he, quote-unquote, refused to die. Lawrence Warunge remained around the initial crime scene for about 2 hours until 8 p.m. His intended plan was yet to be accomplished. Any sane person would have freaked out and changed their mind in these 2 hours of waiting, but not Lawrence. He had thought this over for the last 3 months and he was determined to go through the entire plan without fail. At 8 p.m., he saw his father arrive in a taxi. His father had brought home some bottles of beer, which he carried with him to his bedroom upstairs. He liked to relax in his bedroom as he drank the night away. Simon Warunge, knowing that his dad would be upstairs drinking and the whole family was inside, knew it was time. He was still hiding in the compound, waiting for an opportune moment. As he sneaked around the compound, he saw his mother in the kitchen. He proceeded to the main switch and disconnected the power. He would then start a small fire just outside the kitchen door, using some paraffin and a carrier bag he had taken from the compound. Curious to know what was happening, his mother went out to look. It was then that he hit her at the back of the head with the same metal bar he had killed Kinyanjui with. His adopted brother, Maxwell Jenga, a grade 7 pupil at Wangunyu Primary School, heard the commotion and rushed to the door, oblivious of the impending danger. There and then, he was also attacked in the same way he had attacked his mother. All this while, his father, who was taking some beer in the bedroom upstairs, was not aware that his own son was attacking his family. But after a short while, he sensed some commotion and went downstairs to check. He was shocked to meet his son armed with a knife. He immediately ran back upstairs, but Lawrence, who was fuming with rage, followed him. Gripped with fear and in an attempt to save his own life, Nicholas, his father, jumped from the bedroom balcony and landed on the ground outside their house. With injuries, he tried to run, but Lawrence got to him right before he could open the gate and stabbed him several times before slitting his throat. Lawrence stabbed his father a total of 34 times, leaving him with his intestines out. At this point, Lawrence was only in his socks as he had removed his blood-soaked shoes during the attack. He would then go back to the house and went from room to room looking for his younger brother. He found his brother, Christian Jenga, hiding under the bed in his room, terrified. Christian pleaded with Lawrence to spare his life, but he would hear none of that. Lawrence dragged him from under his bed and, just as he had done to his father, stabbed him several times before slitting his throat. One by one, he extinguished the lives of his loved ones, leaving behind a trail of carnage and devastation. He had not been aware of the fact that his 2 sisters had left for boarding school the previous day. He had expected to find them home, but he was a day late. And how lucky were these 2 girls to have been away during such a time. After killing his family members, he roamed around the house with his blood-soaked socks. He then took a warm shower before sitting down to eat the food his mother was preparing as she lay dead outside the kitchen. Afterwards, he watched a TV show late into the night. He would then go to sleep on his father's bed until around 4 a.m. when he woke up. As soon as he woke up, he packed his bloodied clothes, shoes, and the murder weapons in his bag. He also packed his mom and dad's phone in the same bag with the view of disposing them before switching off his own phone. Afterwards, he locked the gate and flagged down a motorbike which took him to Angige town. There, he asked for a lift from one of the delivery vans, which took him all the way to Maimahio, the rural home of his girlfriend. He had expected his girlfriend Sarah to be there, but on arrival, he found that Sarah had left Maimahio for Thika. This caused some panic since she was supposed to be his alibi when asked where he had been on the night of the murder. So, Lawrence had no choice than to proceed with the next step of getting rid of the evidence. There, in Maimahio, he burned some of his clothes and the mobile phones belonging to his parents before disposing the murder weapons in a pit latrine. He then boarded a bus to Lower Kabete, where he lay low with his phone still off. Meanwhile, at the Warunges home, one neighbor, who was also the friend of James Kinyanjui, the farmhand, came looking for him, but when no one answered, he peeked through the gate and saw Nicholas's body stabbed 34 times just 5 meters from the gate. Immediately, he raised alarm and curious neighbors and onlookers gathered. They jumped the wall into the house only to be met with 4 other bodies. That is Kinyanjui the farmhand, Anne Joroge and her 2 boys. The police would then shortly be called to the scene. There and then, they started piecing up things and noticed that the only survivor was nowhere to be seen. They were sure where the 2 girls of the family were, which was in school. One was a Form 4 student at St. Angela's Girls Karura, and the other girl was in Form 2 at Giriambu Girls High School. They couldn't understand why such a brutal murder had taken place, so all they wanted to do was to make sure Lawrence was okay. They initially suspected that there were at least 3 killers at the scene because they didn't believe that one person was capable of doing such a thing. But as the probe continued, it became clear that there was only one killer. Simon Warunge quickly became the only suspect. However, when they tried calling him, his phone was off. This only fueled their suspicion, so they began tracking his movements. In the days that followed, Lawrence attempted to cover his tracks, keeping a low profile in Kabete. However, his efforts were in vain as authorities closed in on him. His phone signal had appeared that Friday at midnight when he turned his phone back on in Lower Kabete. Eventually, Lawrence was apprehended by authorities and the full extent of his crimes came to light. When detectives questioned him, he confessed to the crime, stating that he had been inspired by the show Killing Eve. He said that he felt that his parents didn't love him and that his younger siblings were also siding with his parents. He then led the detectives to Maimahio, where they dug a hole in the pit latrine and discovered the murder weapons plus other important materials that he had used in the murder. All this while, the investigators were perturbed by his calm nature. Lawrence was then charged with multiple counts of murder, sparking a lengthy legal battle that would captivate the nation. The suspect had squarely been placed at the scene of the crime, with the detectives now trying to establish the motive. First, the shoe prints impressions at the scene of the crime, which were recorded and documented at the scene, matched those of the shoes that were recovered in Maimahio on Saturday. Detectives had done documentation and later confirmed that the measurement and sole patterns of the shoes matched those recovered in Maimahio. Lawrence was then subjected to a mental assessment which came back as not fit for trial. He underwent a second test in April 2021, and this time the test declared him fit for trial. These results, however, introduced a twist in the case because despite his initial confession after his arrest, Lawrence ultimately pleaded not guilty to all charges, leaving his fate hanging in the balance. His girlfriend, Sarah Mudhoni, who was initially named as his accomplice, was turned into a state witness to help in the investigation of the murders. During the trial, Lawrence Warunge's lawyer, Ntenga Marube, would ask for Warunge to be granted bail, but it was not surprising at all when his own family opposed that request. In a written submission to the court, The family alleged that he had promised to kill his two sisters who were in school at the time that he killed his other family members. With these overwhelming requests, the judge opted to remand him as his case continued. Despite all the overwhelming evidence, Lawrence's case has not been concluded at the time of making this video. There has been a lot of complaints about the delayed justice. We all know that justice delayed is justice denied. The family does not understand why it has taken this long for the case to be heard and concluded. 3 years with so many adjournments. They have written letters to the judge and head of station at Kiambu Law Court and also the office of the Ombudsman, complaining about this delay but have not received any reasonable relief. As Lawrence awaits judgment, the community in Kiambu County remains haunted by the memories of the tragedy he unleashed. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within human soul. The once vibrant walls of their home that were filled with laughter and love now stand silent witnesses to the horror that unfolded within. Some people who knew Lawrence said that they couldn't believe that such a quiet boy who always kept to himself was capable of such violence. One neighbor said, "It's heartbreaking. They were such a lovely family, always smiling and waving hello. I would never have suspected that something like this would happen there." As the legal proceedings unfold, the nation watches with bated breath. For Lawrence's surviving family members, his two sisters especially, the pain of their loss is unbearable. They struggle to come to terms with the senseless tragedy that has torn their lives apart, grappling with the questions that may never be answered. What would have happened to them had they not gone to school the previous day? All in all, Simon Warunge has not yet been proven guilty or sentenced, even though the evidence against him is very overwhelming. We have to maintain the old saying that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. I'll be sure to bring an update once this case is concluded, so keep it the Crime Gist until next time. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode with other true crime junkies like yourself. I'll see you right here on the next one.